recorded. No phone calls can be taken this evening. Hope to be live next time. Thank you.
I have seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dream some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all.
So with deep appreciation for the blessings of freedom that we know in this wonderful land of ours, I'm Dr. George Simon, welcoming you to another edition of Character Matters. This is the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time, the character crisis that we face, and that affects so many aspects of our daily lives, from our interpersonal relationships, our marriages, our families, our community relations, our business relationships, our politics. Every aspect of our lives is affected by the character issue. And as most people know these days who have tried to deal with the problem, our traditional approaches are ineffective in trying to deal with the problem. And this leaves us in a pretty bad way. It really diminishes our chances to be great again as a nation. And that couldn't be more important than this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, where we commemorate those who have paid the ultimate price for our freedoms. And in that regard, as is traditional for us at this time of the year, the song that you hear open and close the program, commonly referred to as America, My Home. Its full actual title is Anthem for the Millennium. It was written by myself and my lovely wife at the turn of the new millennium, back in 1999, meant to be an anthem for the new millennium, and it gained popularity after the attacks of 9/11 and has since been performed to audiences approaching 3 million people right now. And I couldn't be happier than I have been in the last few weeks with all the requests, some coming in at the last minute. That's okay with me. All the requests for individuals who wanted to perform the song at local patriotic venues, in their churches, at public events. Couldn't be happier for more folks to carry the song's message. And as is traditional, I'm going to be able to treat you today to the full version of this song. Matter of fact, today I plan to present it to you no less than 3 times, perhaps even 4 times. So get your recorders ready, if you will. I don't mind if people record and share this piece. You can readily find it on YouTube, and you can readily find it on my blog and website at drgeorgesimon.com or manipulative-people.com. Happy to have you go there. Happy to have you find out the history, the origins, the inspiration for the song, its message, and happy to have you be one of the individuals wanting to carry its message to others in a public performance. So, without further ado, if you're ready, in about 2 minutes, I'm going to air it for the first time. At the half hour, we'll air it once again, and before the close of the program, we'll air it. If somebody calls in, says they missed it and wanted to record it, I will give it another try as well. Doesn't matter to me, really. This is the day to celebrate our freedoms and to remember the high cost of freedom. And as you listen to America, My Home, as you listen to this anthem for the new millennium, remember its message, which is that America's greatness has never resided in its military might or its economic clout, both of which are substantial. Its military might, its economic power, that isn't what makes us great. What makes us great, and what has made us great in the past, is the character of our people, people who honor and live out our best ideals, because it's on those individuals who take their responsibilities seriously, who make a meaningful contribution, who do their best to make it all work, who innovate, make opportunities for others. It is those folks upon whom the very survival of freedom depends. Yes, we honor those who paid a price fighting for our freedoms. But we also depend upon people of good character to ensure our freedoms. Because whenever people of good character are left alone, they prosper, and they help create opportunities for others. But whenever folks are irresponsible, abuse their freedoms, abuse liberty, there's always the necessity or the felt necessity of governments to restrict freedom. And this is a disaster. It's a disaster that we're facing all the time. Just think of all the inconveniences that we have to undergo now at airports and whatnot because of the few individuals among us who have been so susceptible, character-wise, to embracing ideologies of hate and intolerance and violence. So, without further ado, for the first time, if you've got your recorders ready, or if you just want to sit back and enjoy, here for your listening pleasure on this Memorial Day weekend for the first time is the version by Ricky David Tripp of my wife, Dr. Sherry Simon, and my composition from 1999, Anthem for the Millennium, better known by its subtitle, America, My Home.
I have seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land as the dream ransom fought and died for, in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So with deep appreciation for the blessings we have known, I will honor her forever. America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. May freedom reign across America, my home. My
Well, there you have it. There you have America, My Home. That version by Ricky David Tripp, one of the True Value Country Music Showdown national champions. That's his version of America, My Home, arranged by Jonathan Joyner and by me and by Tom Caruth and some backup singers. And that's the version you'll see featured on YouTube in various videos and also on my blog at manipulative-people.com, drgeorgesimon.com. You can also go to my website and get information about how to perform the song, how to write for sheet music and for performance rights for large venues. And I am sure happy to have you do that. The more people that help carry the song's message, the better, as far as I'm concerned. And as I said, I'm very happy that this season, prior to this Memorial Day, we had a fair number of requests, which I'm always glad to get, some of which came in at the very last minute. I don't care. All that matters to me is that the message gets carried. And this year, when I was posting information online about the song, I added some additional information to the typical information that I put out there with the song and its background and its message. I added some information, a sentiment of mine about what it really costs to preserve freedom. And, our freedoms and our safety don't just depend on those individuals who are willing to sacrifice and put their lives on the line. Our greatness and our safety, ultimately, as human beings, our safety really relies more on justice, especially social justice. The world is a turbulent place right now. Of course, for most of its history, it's been a turbulent place. And unfortunately, we live in a time where one deranged individual with enough backing, support from ideologically same-minded individuals could do untold catastrophic damage. Because, we human beings, we thinking creatures, we have these brains that are more evolved than any other organism on the planet. And we're devious. We can figure out all kinds of ways to hurt and kill each other. And so I was reading an article about how the intelligence communities and law enforcement agencies all across the world are on high alert right now, because terrorist organizations have managed to craft fake batteries for electronic devices that are really explosive devices, but they have just enough real battery action. They have just enough real battery action capacity to power up the unit. They have just enough battery action capacity to power up a unit and to make screening officials at airports and whatnot believe that the units are safe, when in fact they are bombs ready to blast holes in airplanes or trains or other mass transportation devices. This is how ingenious we are. We're ingenious at coming up with ways to hurt one another, to kill one another. Wouldn't it be something if we used our resources to help ensure that everyone had enough to eat, could get care when they needed care, had a decent place to live? Wouldn't it be something if we devoted all of our time, energy, and resources to bettering our condition? This whole idea that our whole life should be about getting what we can for ourselves and letting everything else go and letting everyone else fend for themselves has only gotten us into trouble. At so many points during history, we've turned the other way, we've looked the other way, while many injustices were done. And it's always cost us, always. So, I'm here to tell you today, or to ask you at least to consider, on this Memorial Day, that while there is no question about my love for this country and my appreciation for those that paid the ultimate price. Hence the inspiration that you find expressed in the song that opens and closes this program, and that I'll be playing for you once again very shortly. Although there's no doubt about my patriotism, it has to go beyond. It has to go beyond pride in the flag, pride in our institutions, and the willingness to defend our freedoms at all costs. What we really have to do to be truly great again is to ensure justice, to revere life, to make it possible for all of us to live in peace and in harmony. There's no safety otherwise. So long as there's injustice, the breeding grounds exist for people to do all measure of hurtful things. And it's the breeding ground of ideologies that seek to dominate and impose their will upon others as a way of righting wrongs that they perceive that exist. They would have no sympathy. These individuals among us who play upon the disadvantaged, who prey upon them, they would have no audience. They would be able to recruit no one to their ignoble causes if there were harmony and justice in the lands that they foment their discord. So that's really where our ultimate safety lies. That's where our ultimate safety has always lied. I don't know whether you agree or not. Perhaps you do. Perhaps you don't. Perhaps you just want to say something else on this Memorial Day weekend. Perhaps you have an issue, a personal issue you want to discuss. Perhaps you have a character-related situation in your life. Whatever the case may be, if you want to join the conversation, the number to call is 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326. I'm happy to take your call. In the next 5 minutes or so, once again, I'll treat you to another full-length version of America My Home. Once again, for those of you out there who want to record the song, have your recording devices ready. The song lasts 3 minutes and 23 seconds, and in just a few moments, I'll play it for you in its entirety once again, so that if you want to have it handy, whatever your recording device is, you can capture it. As I mentioned before, you can also go to YouTube, where the many versions of it are in video form, and also to my blog at manipulative-people.com or drgeorgesimon.com. Either URL will take you to the same multi-site currently under development. And I encourage you strongly to read about the inspiration, and I encourage you to be one of those who maybe helps carry the message. America's true greatness has never really resided in its economic might or in its military power. That's not where its true greatness lies. Never has. It's in its people, in the character of its people. People who honor and cherish and who live out in their daily lives its most precious ideals, its highest ideals. It's on those people, on the backs of those individuals, that the very survival of freedom depends. This country was founded on a very simple principle. If you leave people who have a solid internal moral compass alone, you don't subject them to any kind of social or governmental oppression, you give them maximum freedom, they will inevitably prosper. And in their bid to prosper themselves, they will innovate and they will create opportunities for others too. It's a very simple proposition. But when people behave irresponsibly, when they abuse freedom, there's always the temptation to restrict freedom. And that always comes with a big price. Way too big a price because of far too many folks among us. Far too many folks have paid the ultimate price, given their lives to preserve this freedom that we enjoy. So it's a real dishonor. It's a real dishonoring when we don't recognize and appreciate the great price that was paid and that we owe to those who laid down their lives so that we could enjoy this freedom. So, with that in mind, get your recorders ready, because in just 1 minute, once again, I'm going to play in its entirety for you the anthem for the millennium, better known by its subtitle, America, My Home, written by myself and my wife, Dr. Sherry Simon, and arranged by Jonathan Joyner and Tom Caruth and myself. So for your listening pleasure, get ready. Once again, here it is in its entirety, America, My Home.
I have seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dream some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So with deep appreciation for the blessings we have known, I will honor her forever. America, my home. America,
Well, there you have it. America, my home. And as I mentioned before, this is a song that is meant to be a performance piece. It's meant for individuals who want to carry a very important message for our time at patriotic events around the country. And I'm happy to say that hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals already have done so to audiences in the millions. And I couldn't be happier about that. But I'd like to see even more. So go to the blog at manipulative-people.com. Go to the website at drgeorgesimon.com. You'll be routed to the same place. Click on the tab that takes you to the America My Home page and find out all about it. Learn about the background of the song, learn about its inspiration, and then help carry its message to whatever group or organization or in whatever venue you feel inclined to do so. The more voices that carry the message, the better. You know, this country of ours has gone through many, many phases. We are a relatively young republic. And all great societies, according to history, appear to have a lifespan. And when you look back at our history, there are times when we haven't been so great. And even economically, we've had our struggles since the beginning, where we enjoyed an unprecedented, absolutely unprecedented period of prosperity was actually right after the close of World War II. We're the only country who came out of that war, ushering in an age of unprecedented prosperity. It took the other countries who were devastated by war many, many years, and with lots and lots and lots of help from us, to recover any sense of prosperity. But we had a post-war boom that was absolutely unprecedented. We had a population explosion, they call it the baby boom, and we also had a period of prosperity that was unprecedented. And to give you an idea of how much things have changed, we not only had the greatest middle class and upper middle class expansion in our economy of all time, we had that with primarily one wage earner in a family. Yep, that's right. Wasn't that long ago, folks. Wasn't that long ago in the 50s and early 60s that in most families there was one wage earner and one stay-at-home parent. Of course, that was most often the housewife who did all the duties of caring for the family, all the home economics, we used to call it, from washing to cleaning to preparing meals, all of those things that made a home run, because homes were the factories, the social factories, where we learned responsibility. Times have really changed. Of course, it was an unfair burden that we placed on one sex to carry such a load. It was unfortunate that even in those times there wasn't a more equal division of labor. But that's another story, perhaps another program. But the prosperity that we enjoyed in the post-war era was unprecedented. And it was largely an artifact of the Industrial Revolution that got such a boost in the wartime economy. You know, we had been in a fantastic Great Depression, and so many things were tried to get us out of it. And when you really look objectively at all those things that were tried, all the great social programs that were instituted, nothing really brought us out of the doldrums. Nothing really turned around the economy until the war. And the post-war prosperity that came with industry being revitalized through great production from the war. You know, there was a time when we were turning out ships and planes at unprecedented rates, munitions, tanks, all these industrial tools, and then, of course, all the support machinery and labor that it takes to create all these things. So, you know, it's a sad thing to have to say, but we really profited from the war. And we were warned by several presidents, one in particular, Dwight Eisenhower, who a general himself knew very, very well the horrors of war and the deep price paid by so many young men and women who put themselves in harm's way. He knew this all too well, and he warned us. He warned us of what he called the military-industrial complex, because he saw very clearly that there's money to be made in armaments. And there's an incentive, basically, to fuel that kind of war mentality. And the incentive is that factories get busy, and they hire, and wages go up when we're spending money on arms. He asked us to be wary of that. He asked us to be wary of the fact that some folks are basically always looking for an opportunity to go to war because it's profitable. And it pays off in so many areas. And it's a really pretty sad statement when you think about it. There's a concept in psychology called enabling. And it's this kind of mentality that enables us to not look at our real problems, to not look at our real social ills, and to do what we have to do to ensure real social justice. So, even though we have had these set ideas about what makes us great, what really will make us great again, and I hate to pick on our current president, who has told us over and over again that he knows what would make us great. You know, I'm going to take a risk here and be a little bit more blunt than I have been. You know, I've been one of those individuals who's been very careful ethically. Matter of fact, I was misquoted egregiously in the source reporter who fed the Atlantic, the Vanity Fair magazine, and also Psychology Today. I was misquoted in all those three periodicals, saying that I believe that Donald Trump, our current president, had a narcissistic personality disorder. I was very careful to guard against that kind of conclusion, because there's a principle known as the Goldwater rule, where you, as a professional, even though you have the qualifications to make a diagnosis, you don't make a diagnosis on anybody that you haven't personally assessed and assessed individually, met in person, and conducted certain procedures on to verify. There are certain rules, basically. Other clinicians have been more bold, more brazen, and they have actually not only broken the Goldwater rule, but they justify it by saying that they feel duty-bound to warn people. I didn't shy away from citing our current president's narcissism. I just would not diagnose him officially as having a disorder. That would have been unethical. Frankly, you don't have to have a PhD either in psychology or rocket science or any other field that would indicate intellectual capacity. You don't have to have the training or the qualifications to see the narcissism. It's so blatant. It's so obvious. And the thing of it is, with narcissism, is always this overestimation of personal ability. And so this is where I'm going to be a little bit more brazen, even though I'm still not going to break the Goldwater rule. But we have been witnessing on the national stage, and we witnessed on the international stage just this past couple of weeks, just glaring evidence of how relatively incompetent this individual is. He's very confident in his ability. He's confident in his ability to make decisions. He believes that's what got him where he is. You know, when you have narcissism in your character, there is absolutely no room for what the folks in the 12-step programs call a higher power. And by that I mean there's no room, not just for God, for any entity, any higher authority, anything in life bigger than you. When you're narcissistic, you think you're all that. Sometimes the way you present yourself as being all that is a smokescreen. Sometimes, underneath it all, you feel insecure, you feel little, you have low self-esteem, you lack confidence, and you put on an act, basically. But more often, in our day and time, more often, there are narcissistic individuals who really, truly, sincerely believe in their own greatness. And what makes things pathological is they can't even conceive of, let alone will they kneel in worship of, a higher power or authority. So they give no credit to anyone or anything else. Everything is due to them. All their successes come from their brain power, their decisions. It's never any luck. It's never any goodwill from others. And I look at the history of this fairly wealthy individual, and I see all the exploitation, all the taking advantage of, all of the conniving, the slyness, the salesmanship, basically, and the branding. And I see a real house of cards, one ready to fall. One ready to fall. And it won't be long. It won't be. I'm being brazen here. I'm going to tell you, and it's not necessarily that anybody has to take any action. The fact is, folks who overestimate themselves and folks who overestimate their capacities almost always do themselves in eventually. They also do others in with them, unfortunately. That's just the way it is. They always overestimate, and it always catches up with them. And who pays the price? Generally, everybody else but them. Character matters. We're going to be taught that lesson in a way that I hope will humble us. And I hope will instruct us, because we will be taught that lesson. We are going to learn once and for all how important character is. And my prayer, my sincere prayer for this country is, and believe me, I'm not just picking on this president. I promise you, when I look at the field that we had to choose from way back in the primary season, on both sides, and only the handful of folks, the one or two folks that I thought were of any kind of decency at all, it's pathetic. But we will decide eventually that character matters enough that we won't entrust our welfare, again, to folks who don't meet certain minimum standards. You see, the way it works right now, we're so divided, and we have such competing interests, and we don't talk to each other, and we don't talk to each other honestly, and because of that, all we care about is advancing our own agendas, whether you're on one side or the other. So we pick who we think is going to advance those agendas. And we don't care about character. And that's going to cost us. It's going to cost us big time. I promise you. And perhaps, I hope, I pray, perhaps in that we will learn a great lesson. Well, I said that one more time before the show's close that I would play for you in its entirety, America, My Home. It has a message. So get your recorders ready if you didn't get it the last time, because I'm about ready to play it again in just about 2 minutes. And then, of course, you'll hear a part of it play as the closing bumper when the show ends. But it has a message, this song I'm about to play for you again, and that is about America's greatness and where it really lies. There's a sentiment in this song. I hope you hear the sentiment loud and clear, because it's personal. There's a line in there about honoring the country and honoring it forever because of what its ideals mean. And it's up to us as individuals to make those ideals a reality. America's greatness has never resided primarily in its military might or its economic power. Its true greatness has always resided in the character of its people. De Tocqueville never actually said this, but he's often quoted as saying that America is great because it is good, and when it ceases being good, it will cease being great. Alexis de Tocqueville actually never said that, but truer words could never be spoken. It's those who honor and cherish and live out her best ideals that make this country what it has been in its shining moments. And it's upon those people that the very survival of freedom depends. So once again, for your listening pleasure, here is America, My Home.
I have seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dream some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So with deep appreciation for the blessings we have known, I will honor her forever. America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my
Well, there you have America, My Home. And I urge you, please, to go to YouTube and to my blog at manipulative-people.com or drgeorgesimon.com. Avail yourself of the timely articles there. Also, if you have an urge to do so, mosey on over to the Character Matters page and also mosey on over to the page for America, My Home. Read about the inspiration for the song, find out how to get the scores, the sheet music, find out how to get the backing tracks for karaoke-style performances. Be one of those individuals to carry the song's message to others. Help inspire others to truly make this country great again by inspiring folks to be of the kind of character that will make the country great again. That's really the founding principle. That's really what makes freedom possible. You give people who have a solid moral compass the maximum freedom, freedom from government interference, freedom from social oppression of one type or another. You give people who are basically decent people. Give them freedom, and they will prosper. They will not only prosper themselves, but they will create opportunities for others. And that's what makes societies great. When people of good character are left alone to prosper. We have to make character matter again. It always has mattered. It always will matter. It's we who have decided in the last several decades that we can do without it. That so long as we have people doing our bidding, so long as we get what we want, so long as our agendas are advanced, and so long as we have people willing to do whatever they have to do to advance those agendas for us, that we don't have to consider character. But there's always a price to pay for that. As we will learn, we will inevitably learn. We get taught that lesson time and time and time again. And the other lesson that we are going to be taught is how unsafe we all are when there is not justice. Because without social justice, there is no peace, and there is always the constant breeding ground for hate and for these groups and ideologies that exploit those who are disadvantaged and who have an axe to grind, and only infuse them with greater hatred and invite them to do horrible things. This is what we're witnessing. So on this Memorial Day, let us remember those who paid the ultimate price, and let us resolve that for us, character is going to matter once again. I'm Dr. George Simon. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week at the same time on another edition of Character Matters. Have a wonderful weekend.